There are many deadly assassins in the DC universe, but one stands above all. He is stronger and faster than an ordinary human, a master of almost every form of combat, and one of the greatest military tacticians the world has ever seen. He's fought Batman, challenged the Justice League, and repeatedly hunted the Teen Titans. However, his greatest enemy has never been a superhero. It has always been himself. Today, this is the story of Slade Wilson, otherwise known as Deathstroke. From an early age, Slade Wilson showed he had a natural talent for combat. While still a teenager, he lied about his age so he could enlist in the US Army. He quickly proved himself to be an exceptional soldier. Slade was strong, disciplined, fearless. More importantly, he was extremely intelligent. He could study a dangerous situation and quickly decide the best way to survive. To Slade, every battle was like a game of chess. He was always thinking several moves ahead of his opponents. His abilities attracted the attention of an army instructor named Adeline Kane. Adeline trained Slade in advanced combat techniques. Under her guidance, he became an expert in hand-to-hand fighting, firearms, explosives, survival, and military tactics. Slade soon became Adeline's finest student. In time, the two grew close. They married, started a family. They had two sons, Grant and Joseph. For a short time, it appeared that the young soldier had found a normal life, but Slade could never truly leave the battlefield behind. Slade volunteered for a secret military experiment. The purpose of this experiment was to create stronger, faster, more intelligent soldiers. However, at first, the procedure appeared to have failed. Instead of becoming stronger, Slade became seriously ill. His condition deteriorated to the point where he was discharged from the military. It seemed that his army career was over. However, Slade soon discovered that the experiment had, indeed, changed him in fundamental ways. Indeed, he had become much stronger and faster than an ordinary person. His heightened reflexes allowed him to react to danger almost instantly. His mind became faster too. Slade could examine information, predict an opponent's actions, and create a detailed plan to counter it in a matter of seconds. He also developed a limited, though extremely useful, healing factor, helping him to recover from many injuries more quickly than a normal soldier. But Slade was not invincible. He could still be injured. He could still be killed. His powers simply made him far more dangerous than any ordinary soldier. Unable to return to his former career, Slade found another use for his abilities. He became a mercenary, a soldier who fought for money. He became an assassin. He created a masked identity and gave himself a new name, Deathstroke. His reputation spread quickly. Before long, Deathstroke became known as one of the most feared killers in the world. He accepted extremely dangerous missions that other mercenaries would not even dare attempt. He hunted criminals, soldiers, political leaders, sometimes even superheroes. Slade was skilled with almost every type of weapon. He carried swords, guns, explosives, and a powerful staff that was also capable of firing energy blasts. However, his greatest weapon remained his mind. Deathstroke carefully studied his targets before attacking. He learned their habits, their fighting styles, their weaknesses. He rarely entered a battle without a plan, and he usually had several backup plans ready as a contingency. While his career as Deathstroke became increasingly successful, Slade continued to hide this truth from his family. Adeline believed that her husband had left the violence behind. She was wrong. Slade's secret would eventually destroy everything they had built together. Inevitably, Slade's family were drawn into the conflict. A criminal known as the Jackal discovered Deathstroke's real identity. To force Slade to cooperate, Jackal kidnapped his youngest son, Joseph. Slade was given a choice: surrender the information Jackal wanted, or he could attempt to rescue Joseph himself. Slade was never one to give in. He believed he was skilled enough to save his son without making a deal. He attacked the kidnappers, killed them all, but he was not fast enough to prevent Joseph from being seriously injured. One of the kidnappers sliced at Joseph's throat. The boy survived, but the injury permanently damaged his vocal cords, leaving him unable to speak. When Adeline discovered what had happened, she was furious. Slade's secret career had placed their son in danger. Even worse, his pride had convinced him that he could handle the situation by himself. At her wit's end, Adeline picked up a gun and shot Slade in the face. The bullet destroyed his right eye. From that moment forward, Deathstroke wore a mask that was orange on one side and black on the other. The black half covered his missing eye. The mask became a symbol of the feared assassin. However, to Slade, it also served as a permanent reminder of his failure as a husband and a father. Still eager to emulate his father, Slade's other son, Grant, also became involved in the dangerous world of mercenaries, superheroes, and supervillains. Grant ignored his father's advice and wanted to prove that he was just as powerful. A criminal organization known as the Hive offered him enhanced abilities. Grant accepted, taking on the name Ravager. His mission was to kill a group of young superheroes known as the Teen Titans. However, the experiment that gave Grant his powers was unstable. His body could not handle the enormous physical pressure. During his battle with the Titans, Grant's powers overwhelmed him. He died before he could complete his mission. Slade blamed the Teen Titans for his son's death. He refused to accept the truth that Grant had made his own choices, or that he had been used by Hive for their own twisted ends. Instead, Deathstroke agreed to finish Grant's mission. He assumed the contract. He would destroy the Teen Titans himself. Before long, Deathstroke emerged as the Teen Titans' greatest enemy. The Titans included young heroes such as Robin, Beast Boy, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven. Together, they possessed powers far beyond anything Deathstroke could match. But Slade already knew that. He knew a direct attack would inevitably fail. Instead, he tried to overpower the Titans by breaking them from within. Deathstroke began studying the team. He learned their secret identities, their interpersonal relationships, the places where they felt safest. He then recruited a young woman named Terra. Terra had the power to control rocks and earth. She joined the Teen Titans and pretended that she wanted to become one of them. In reality, she was secretly working for Deathstroke the entire time. Terra gained the Titans' trust and collected information about them. She told Slade who they were, how they fought, and where he could find them at their most vulnerable point. Using this information, One by one, Deathstroke captured each of the Titans. For a time, it appeared as if he had won. But a lone Titan escaped. Dick Grayson, the original Robin. Dick had recently stopped calling himself Robin, adopting the new identity Nightwing. In an unlikely alliance, he teamed up with Slade's former wife Adeline and Slade's surviving son Joseph. Together, they rescued the other Titans. In the interim, Joseph had developed powers of his own. By making eye contact with another person, he could temporarily transfer his mind into their body, controlling their actions like a puppet master. He took on a new name, Jericho. Together, Nightwing and Jericho helped to bring down Hive and put the Teen Titans safe and beyond the reach of Deathstroke. But Deathstroke's war with the Titans was far from over, even if his plan had failed. With Deathstroke, there is always a plan B. Though Slade had tried to avoid it, each of his children inevitably became connected to his violent life. Grant had become the first Ravager, and died while trying to prove himself to his father. Joseph had become Jericho and joined the Teen Titans. Although he was a naturally kind and peaceful soul, his ability to enter other people's minds often placed enormous pressure on his mind. Occasionally, Joseph lost control of his powers, becoming a danger to himself and others. Slade was eventually forced into a terrible confrontation with his own son. Believing Joseph could no longer control his powers, Slade had no choice but to end his life. However, in the DC universe, death is seldom permanent. Joseph later returned. In the interim, Slade also had a daughter named Rose. Rose had inherited some of her father's advanced abilities, eventually rising to become the new Ravager. Slade attempted to train her as his successor, but instead of treating Rose like a daughter, he often treated her like one of his soldiers. His training was cruel and dangerous. He manipulated Rose, encouraging her to become ever more violent. Desperate to prove herself, Rose even took the extreme measure of cutting out one of her own eyes in order to look more like her father. Slade claimed that he was preparing his children for a dangerous world. In reality, he was simply passing his own pain and violence onto his offspring. Though he is most commonly presented as a villain, Deathstroke does not always see himself that way. In Slade's view, he is simply a professional. Once he accepts a contract, it must be completed. It does not matter if his target is a criminal, a soldier, or even a superhero. He has sometimes worked alongside heroes when it served his purposes. He has protected innocent people at times and even risked his own life to save others. But these brief moments of heroism do not erase his crimes. Deathstroke is still an assassin. He kills for money. He has manipulated people, attacked heroes, repeatedly endangered his own family. He is not completely evil, but he is certainly no hero. Slade follows his own code. At times, that code could place him on either side of a conflict. This makes him extremely unpredictable. For Deathstroke, today's ally could easily become tomorrow's target. Deathstroke has clashed with many heroes down the years, but perhaps his most famous battles have been those with Batman. After all, Batman and Deathstroke have a great deal in common. They are both highly intelligent, both expert fighters, and they both use advanced weaponry and extremely careful preparation to give themselves the best chance of winning a battle. Neither man needs traditional superpowers to challenge far stronger enemies. But there is one major difference between them. Batman always uses his abilities to protect others. Deathstroke uses his skills to serve only himself. Batman has trained younger heroes, including several different Robins. But he always tries to stop them from being consumed by the anger and violence within them. Slade does the opposite. He repeatedly pushes his children deeper into his world of violence, even when he sees how much damage it is causing them. This is what makes Deathstroke more than simply an evil iteration of Batman. He is an example of what Batman may have become if he allowed violence and pride to take over control of his life. As unlikely as it may seem, there have been times when Deathstroke has even challenged the Justice League. He knows he's not stronger than Superman, nor can he move as fast as the Flash, or possess any of the cosmic powers the Green Lantern uses. But Deathstroke understands that every hero has a weakness, a vulnerability to exploit. He studies how they think and how they fight. He uses surprise, specialized weapons, and the environment around him to reduce their advantages. Slade does not need to be more powerful than his opponent. He just needs to be better prepared. The ability to challenge much stronger enemies has helped make Deathstroke into one of the most respected and feared warriors in the DC universe. Even Batman knows that underestimating him could be a deadly mistake. It would be all too easy to dismiss Slade Wilson as little more than a heartless killer, but there is far more to him than that. Deathstroke would describe himself as a man of honour, but his notion of honour is deeply flawed. He keeps his professional contracts, he honours agreements, yet repeatedly he has broken promises to his own family. He respects skilled opponents, yet manipulates people who trust him. He claims that everything he does is necessary. The truth is much simpler. Slade simply refuses to accept responsibility for his own failures. He blamed the Teen Titans for Grant's death. He blamed his enemies for Joseph's pain and suffering. He treated Rose cruelly while claiming that he was only trying to make her stronger. Again and again, Slade creates pain for those around him and then blames someone else for the consequences. His missing eye is not his greatest weakness. His greatest weakness is his pride. Deathstroke can predict the movements of the world's greatest heroes, yet he often fails to simply understand the people closest to him. For all his obvious flaws, Deathstroke remains one of the most dangerous villains in the DC universe. His enhanced abilities make him stronger and faster than an ordinary human. His military training makes him a deadly fighter and allows him a tactical edge over many opponents, often even in cases where they are far more powerful than him. But Slade Wilson's story is not really about his victories. It's about what those victories have cost him. His life as Deathstroke destroyed his marriage, led his children into violence, turned his family into enemies, victims, and weapons of his own vengeance. Slade can prepare for almost any battle, but no amount of planning can repair the damage he has caused. Behind that orange and black mask is not just the world's greatest assassin. There is also a soldier who won countless battles, but at the cost of the people who mattered most to him. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of Deathstroke, be sure to subscribe to the Supervillain Codex for more origin stories, hidden lore, and complete histories of some of fiction's greatest villains. Until next time, remember, Every villain has a story to tell.